The following program is sponsored by Allegheny Health Network. CBS Eye On Health. Overcoming Hurdles to Healthy Motherhood with Darieth Chisholm.
Welcome to CBS Eye On Health. I'm Darieth Chisholm. Today we're discussing women's health services at Allegheny Health Network. AHN doctors understand that every woman has unique health needs, including labor and delivery and so much more. They specialize in women at every age and in every stage of life. Joining me is Gevany Williams, whose own health needs led her to overcome unimaginable hurdles to fulfill her dream of becoming a mother. Gevany, thanks so much for being here. And we've got a lot that we want to cover, but I'd love to begin with your journey to becoming pregnant.
Yes, my husband, Chris, and I, we desperately wanted to be parents, but it was hard for us. I had months of infertility. We had multiple miscarriages, and I underwent IVF treatment as well.
And you spent several months in this process of becoming pregnant.
Yes, several months, even years really, just working with fertility doctors to have a baby.
And finally, you're pregnant.
Finally, I was pregnant,
and
yes.
In your first trimester, you began to have some complications, some pain.
Yes, some pretty severe pain. That landed me in the hospital with a ruptured appendix.
A ruptured appendix?
Yes.
That had to be painful.
It was very painful, and it was very scary.
Of course.
Yeah.
Especially because you worked so long and so hard to become pregnant.
Right. Always we had in the back of our minds, is the baby going to be okay? Is the baby going to be okay?
How was that feeling at that time?
It was a little bit surreal. We just wanted to do what the doctors told us to do. We wanted to figure out what was going on, and we wanted to keep Dax healthy.
So you find out you have a ruptured appendix, and then what?
And then I was placed in the hospital for a little while. I had a drain placed in my appendix. The infection was all cleared up, and I was sent home with the instructions that after I delivered our baby, I'd come back and have my appendix removed. So I left the hospital and went home.
So you're at home, you feel as though you're recovering, but that didn't happen.
Right. About 3 to 4 weeks later, the same thing happened again, and I was back in the hospital with the same issue, but it was no longer safe for my appendix to stay in because it could have caused problems for me or Dax at that point.
So they began discussing with you some surgical options.
Yes.
And what were doctors saying at that time?
That I needed to have my appendix taken out, but it was risky because, of course, there's always a chance that you could, lose the baby, but it was best because I was in my second trimester. So if we were going to do the surgery, it was the safest time to do it.
And they had this full plan in place.
Yes.
The doctors there at AHN, and you felt as though this was going to be the best course of action.
Definitely. Dr. Tomzik was my surgeon. He was the doctor that worked with me the first time I was there, and then when I got readmitted to the hospital, and I had the utmost confidence in him.
Now, how were you feeling after surgery? I would imagine this is very scary, obviously,
yes.
Very concerning, but you had to trust the process that the doctors were putting into place for you.
Yes, I remember waking up from surgery just saying, is my baby okay? Is my baby okay? And he was.
Yeah.
So he did great.
Yeah, and you were doing great.
I was. I went home, I started walking again, I started jogging some, I started going back to the gym and, just getting on with my pregnancy. Things seemed to be going well.
How was your husband handling this and your family at this time? I mean, you've had the surgery, you're going through recovery, you're feeling great. I assume there was a great deal of support around you.
Yes, definitely. Chris, my husband, he was always concerned about Dax, but he was always concerned about me as well. Everyone would just check in, make sure I was doing okay, tell me to take it easy. Very supportive.
Yeah. And so you come home, you're going through surgery, or excuse me, through recovery, and unfortunately, though, things didn't necessarily continue to go in that direction.
No. I went back in to meet with Dr. Tomzik for a follow-up visit. And, you know, I said, is it okay that I start doing push-ups again? And he said, well, Gevany, I need you to sit down. I need to talk with you about some things. And he told me that I had cancer. He said that pathology was done on my appendix when it was taken out, and I had a very rare type of cancer called goblet cell carcinoid. And I was flabbergasted. I was very shocked.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
It had to have, I mean, you clearly are on the road to recovery from this recent surgery, feeling very strong, exercising. You hear a doctor say to you, you have a very rare cancer.
Yes, yes. And, you know, my first thought immediately went to my son, is he going to be okay? Is he going to make it through this? And Dr. Tomzik was wonderful about reassuring me, taking care of me. You know, he said, do you have a support system around you? And I said, yes, that's why we moved back here. And he asked us if we had found a church, and I said, yes, we had. And then he promised me that he would send me to, you know, a wonderful surgeon. He took good care of me.
I can imagine, but in those times, in that moment when a doctor says, when you least expect it, you have cancer, and you're carrying a baby and you just had a surgery, the thought of what do I do next had to be overwhelming for you.
Right, and where do we go from here, and how is this all going to be managed, and what are we going to do? Yeah, it was overwhelming.
We will talk more about that, because I have to imagine you had to muster a kind of strength and fortitude and commitment, partnered with your doctor's orders to get through this.
Right.
And we definitely will dive further into that. And when we return, we'll talk with Gevany about how she and her doctors created a plan to treat her cancer and still be able to safely deliver her healthy baby. We'll be right back.